Hi, this is Can You See My Screen, a podcast dedicated to running better workshops, training, and meetings online. I'm Michael Forrest, and I do a lot of video production, live streaming, and software development.
I'm Ivanka Magic. I do user research. I do a lot of talking to people, workshops, courses, and presentations. And with so many of us having to work online, we think we can help make it a bit easier and better for everyone.
And today we are joined by Rabbi David Paskin, and the music stops because I have still to work out all the key. Hi, David. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, and just before we play the title sequence?
Sure. My name is David Paskin. I'm coming in from sunny Miami, Florida, where it's a warm 18 degrees Celsius, I just learned, because we use Fahrenheit over here. And I'm a rabbi, and I've become the Torah Tech Guy, helping people use great tech to create and share great Torah.
Splendid. And you've got a really nicely set up studio, and you've got a whole website, and you give loads of help and advice to people that want to do this sort of thing. So I can't wait to learn more about all of that. Try to find out. So, where do we want to start? What got you started on this this journey to becoming the Torah Tech Guy?
Yeah, I've always thought of myself as a Jewish futurist. That is to say, I'm much less interested in what's happening now and much more interested in what's going to be happening, what's coming in the future. I will admit I have the shiny thing disease. Whenever there's a new shiny thing, I need to grab it up and play with it, which is why I'm an early adopter. Well, I don't know if I'm early for the Shoot app, but I'm an early adopter for a number of things that Michael has created. And so I've been creating videos for over a decade now on YouTube, mostly of my music for my rabbinate. So I'm a Jewish musician and a rabbi, and so I had a podcast, not a podcast, I called them a rebcast for a rabbi webcast called Roar, Reflections of a Rabbi. And so I did that every week for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. And then I also put out lots of videos of my music. And I guess that when the pandemic hit, I took my love of technology, my love of thinking about what could be, and sort of merged that with looking at the Jewish world specifically, doing a terrible job of creating online content and engaging classes and engaging services, things like that. And I put them together, and thank God I'm very blessed. I've been able to help some people out.
That's great. And my background is also as a musician. So the reason I created Shoot originally was because I was live streaming music, and that wasn't really another way to have multiple cameras and things like that. So it's nice to bring, because it's sort of complicated, and then it's relatively easy to bring that into more sort of formal environments, I think. So what sort of problems have you managed to solve for people and for yourself, and how have you done?
Well, I'm fairly confident I've caused more problems than I've solved, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that I've solved any problems. I think that what I've tried to do is highlight some problems and offer some possible solutions. I don't feel like the way I solve a problem will work for other folks necessarily. And so what I'm trying to do is to highlight the issues. Where can we do better? And what are some of the tools that I've used that have helped me to do that? And then if those tools work for you, fantastic. If they don't, let's work together to find whatever will work for you. For me, I think that until the pandemic and until getting involved with other people who are doing this kind of work, I had never really paid all that much attention to audio and video quality. I had always had a USB mic, but I had never really spent time thinking about the dB level, the gain level on my mic, or the clarity of the audio sound. I'd never really thought about or even knew about bokeh, creating sort of the slightly blurred background. And it took, ironically, Zoom doing that terribly to help me learn that we could do it better. And so I've, in my own sort of workflow, I've been able to solve for today, because I'm sure tomorrow there will be a new toy out that I'll need to get and play with. But for today, I've been able to, I think, produce fairly good audio and fairly good video quality. But more broadly, and maybe even more philosophically, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how do we create digital experiences that aren't terrible and boring. That I think is the biggest problem that I've set out to solve. You know, the when we used to go to conferences, and there would be keynote speakers, there'd be breakout sessions, and then there'd be, you know, in the hallway, people would gather for coffee and schmooze and schmai around. I, I never went, and I don't know that anybody ever went for the keynote. We went for the coffee. We went for the hallway conversations.
Mm.
And when the pandemic hit and we couldn't have those hallway conversations anymore, and all we could have was the keynotes over Zoom, I think we all realized how terrible those experiences really were, because all we had was the worst of them, which was
Yeah.
a talking head, not speaking well, using a terrible PowerPoint or keynote presentation, and not really engaging me at all, just sort of vomiting information in my general direction. And because I was sitting at home or in my office, I was very easily distracted from that experience. And so I have been spending a lot of time thinking about what are the tools that we can use to engage people in digital space? What are the ways that we can both visually and even physically engage people in these kinds of experiences?
Yeah. I think that's one of the most interesting things you said at the introduction, when you said that engaging classes. How do we create that engaging content? The quality audio and visuals. Michael's made sure that I've ordered a good microphone pre-pandemic, but I've never been somebody that particularly cares about it, and only now that I'm working with so many more people, it's so much more noticeable when you've got that poor audio video quality. But the creating engaging content and those coffee moments is what I end up having to pour all the energy into when I'm organizing an online workshop, for example. So, and I don't know, I wonder if there's any particular experiences of that you'd like to share. I mean, what I hope you don't mind, one of the first things that I noticed when you came on was that you were smiling. And it's so often, this week I had a meeting with somebody who potentially wants to do some work with me. We were sitting there all straight faced at the beginning of the call, and I was like, am I gonna have to bring all the energy to this conversation?
Right. Right.
So you know, I wonder if there's anything along there,
Yeah.
those lines that you've got some
Well,
tips on.
so the key word that I think you just said there is energy, right? Is that when you're in a physical space, I'm not a scientist. This is just my personal experience. When you, as a rabbi, by the way, who for 20 years, 25 years, led services and classes in a big physical sanctuary with lots of people. So in those spaces, in physical space, there is a natural chemical energy that exists from the human beings, the human flesh sitting in those seats or with you. And in digital space, you don't have that natural energy. I am literally all alone in my office. And so how do we create energy? How do we bring energy to these experiences? And I've been thinking about it a little bit like when you're an actor. You know, when I remember it was the Oscars once. James Corden was doing the big, opening act or something to the Emmys or the Oscars or something, and one of the jokes in his song was how actors do a screamed whisper, or a yelled whisper. So the point being is that when you're acting, you always overdo. You have to overdo whatever it is to convey that with the energy and power that it needs. Same with makeup. When you're doing makeup on Broadway, right, you over accentuate the eyes so that it draws attention to it. We need to, in digital space, bring more energy than we do in physical space. So one of the things that has been vital for me, it's the most important piece of tech that I've gotten, is my standing desk. It's a desk that goes up and down, and I clamp, literally everything is clamped to this desk. And when I know that I'm coming on a session with you, or at 10:30 today, my time, I'm teaching a class. It's a class that I teach every week. I always do it standing up,
Yeah.
because there is an energy that comes from this physical posture. I can't slouch down in my seat. I have to stand at attention, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big piece of
Yeah.
it for me.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
it's
please.
such a right. We had I was talking to Michael about running some workshops, and there were a bunch of keynotes, and you could tell the people that were standing at a desk versus sitting, even if their audio wasn't as good, even if their video wasn't as good, their background wasn't as fancy. The fact that they were standing up made them sort of more present in the space. So it's a really good, really important tip, definitely.
You know, I think also there's what is the saying about, you see, when you look into someone's eyes, you're gazing into their soul. That's also to me a very important piece of this, is that the way, and that's a problem. I guess this is probably what I should have led with, Michael, when you asked about what's a problem you've solved. Because by the nature of computers is that when we are we don't want to look at a lens. We want to look at a face. And so in order for me to look at your face, usually I would have to not look at the camera, which from your perspective means I'm not looking at you. And so, there are a lot of different sort of workarounds that people have mocked up together. I've gone the teleprompter route, but that also making that eye contact for me, so that that I care that you're here.
Yeah, and I'll say I'm literally, my DSLR is to the left of my monitor, and I've got you sort of here, but I'm making a very concerted effort to stare into the camera lens, which is sort of a sort of disorienting experience, because I know it's better for the podcast, but literally, like, something I'm working on is so that I can see you as I'm looking into the lens. And someone told me about a good like using Duet to put it on the iPad and put it on the teleprompter so that they can see who they're looking at. And I think it's a huge thing, and especially if you're kind of producing content as well, like you can't be sort of like looking over to the side or checking something. And actually, like, even the first few episodes of this podcast, we've got that problem, because we're still sort of working out some kinks, and I'm sort of constantly looking over to the side because I'm sort of producing I'm producing an eCam as we go.
Right.
So also my standing desk.
I feel guilty now. I feel extra bad now for not sorting out my.
You've got the webcam. Well, you've got the webcam in the screen at least, so it's sort of like where it's supposed to be. Mine's in an awkward place. But I was going to say, so that also my standing desk stopped working, so that's a really big problem. It's annoying. So I am sitting down, and it's annoying. What I'll ask, I want to talk about the presenting stuff, because you've definitely shown me some cool stuff there. But in terms of those water cooler corridor moments, what solutions have you found to that problem?
That's a great question. So at the beginning of the pandemic, a whole bunch of different apps rose up to try and solve that very problem. So apps like wonder.me or spatial.chat, or what was the one where you become a character? I don't know. There are a whole bunch of them, and they're cute, and in some ways they're really unique and fun and creative. They also have problems. One of the problems is that, at least early on, they did not play well on mobile. And I found that out the hard way. I was leading a service in Zoom, and then I wanted, after the service, to invite everyone to one of these other platforms.
Space.
And the idea behind these platforms, by the way, is that I can actually bring one up, wonder.me. The way that these work, or the idea at least, is that you can move yourself around physical space, instead of where in Zoom you're kind of in the box and you can't go anywhere. In these, you have a little yourself where you can move around and and sort of decide where you want to go, or where you want to be or what have you. Let me pull this up and I'll show you. So this is, I don't want to take a photo, but it's going to make me, I think. So I'm going to take a photo. Next. All right. So what I did is I created just this background in Canva. And then you upload it to a place like this. And then here's my little guy that I'm going to make this full screen so it's a little easier to see. So here's my little guy. And just by dragging him or pointing him around, I can move him around the space. And what's nice about these is that as you get closer to someone, that's when you sort of enter a circle with them and you get video of both of those. So you have a choice about where you want to be in the space and who you want to talk to. So my idea is that I'd say, okay, you three, you guys head over to the cafe in the back, and then they would have a private video chat. And then you three, you go over here to the table and you'll have a private chat. It didn't work well on mobile, didn't play friendly on mobile. Right. And many of the people that I was working with, that I was learning with, were on using iPads. And so that right there was sort of a game changer, a non-starter. The other piece is that we all became very comfortable in Zoom. And it's really hard to break out of our comfort zone. And so going to a different platform where you have to move or interact in different ways was challenging for a lot of people. The latest toy that I'm just starting to play with is a Zoom app called Twine. And if anyone's interested, actually, I'm part of the Zoom Test Kitchen. We're a group that meets 3:00 Eastern time every Friday. And every single Friday, we just playing with new Zoom tools and discovering new things, and it's really a great group. And the Twine folks are going to come to the Zoom Test Kitchen, not this Friday, but in a week. And what it leverages breakout rooms.
What's that date? Sorry, just I don't know when this will come out. What date will that be?
Oh, I apologize. That is going to be on April 8th.
Okay. So we'll try and get this out before then.
After April 8th. Then go back to YouTube and find the Zoom Test Kitchen from April 8th. If it's coming up before, you're welcome to join us. But basically what Twine does is it leverages breakout rooms, and it makes it gives you a graphical interface so that people can look at the different tables where people are sitting. Each table is a breakout room. You can do A/B pairing. So there are some different ways to kind of try and create those spontaneous interactions. It's more difficult in digital space. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think what you said about the comfort with the tools thing, it's like going to a new bar or a new, any space where you're not comfortable, you've not been before, until you're familiar with it. I don't know why I chose bar, but anywhere, a new restaurant where you're not familiar with the menu, whatever it might be, it's like it's hard to do that, and then meet people you don't know. So you're adding a sort of two-layer of I joined a networking thing a couple of weeks ago, also remotely, and they had some people in the physical space and some people I joined on Zoom, because I had to do a little talk, so I joined in with the whole thing. And I didn't mind being chucked into a breakout room on Zoom with people I'd never met before. But it was for very limited time. So if there were any awkward conversations, we were right back out of there again. So there's an escape route. But yeah, it's quite that sort of serendipitous meeting that happens in the corridors at a conference is tricky.
It's tricky. I have a story from actually really this morning where so something David put me onto was Office Hours Global, and then After Hours Global. And After Hours is this just 24-hour Zoom call that you can just jump in. And today I've been meaning to try and figure it out and get involved a little bit, but it's scary. But I found myself this morning. I have like a backlog of blog posts I want to write, and I had the Zoom thing there, and someone came on and went, "Oh, it's quiet in here today. Is there anyone here?" And I'm like on mute, camera off, and the blog post I was writing was how to be brave. I was like, I've got some thoughts on this. You can't be brave unless you're scared to do something. And I'm sitting there like writing this blog post about being brave whilst not doing a thing I was scared of. So I said, okay, Michael, stop writing the blog post. Go and just make a cup of coffee and just. So I had to think about it, and I said, okay, yeah, this is, I turned on my camera, I said hello, I talked to this guy on Zoom, and it was kind of intense, but I just said, okay, well, let's just talk about the fact that we're talking, and that's easy. And I did a bit of research on him, but for me, even, I live stream all day long and talk to random, put stuff out in public all day long, but just to kind of put myself in that weirdly intimate with a stranger that I don't know, they maybe look a bit grumpy, they might, I'm worried about what they think about me. And because you don't really know who knows who, and you don't know what the tenor of the conversation is going to be, and I've sort of tuned in before, and it's been, I don't know, this is like winding me up a bit, but I'm not just going to jump in the first thing I say is you're wrong about Bitcoin, but it's I think maybe providing some parameters to that space is a really good thing to do, because whenever you enter a new social situation, you sort of have to read the room, and that if you're sort of late to the party and you don't know what's going on yet, you have to sort of hold out a bit. But I do like this idea of dragging myself over near someone else and be able to sort of be visibly standing in a corner being shy, and maybe someone says hi. But yeah, so literally today,
I agree. I agree 100%. The office hours or after hours rather, it can be a strange experience, especially when you go in and no one's talking. There are times of the day when that's really, really busy, and I'll often hop in when I have a problem or when I need to test something, and I always know people are there who are willing to help me test. But yeah, when it's quiet and you're not part of you don't feel part of that group, it's strange. But you talked about intimacy, and one of the ironic experiences I think that we're all having is that while we have found ourselves more distant from one another physically, we also have found ourselves, I think, in more intimate experiences with one another. I'm in your home to a certain extent right now. I'm in Croatia and London. And that's weird, because I've never been to either of those places. And yet somehow, not only am I there, but I'm seeing into your personal space, and you're seeing into my personal space. And it's not me seeing you far away up on a stage. You can look up my nostrils if you want. That's how close we are. And there's something really beautiful and scary and just really wonderful about the irony of this space and what we can do with it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I told Michael the story. I hope I haven't told it on the podcast of me interviewing somebody. So I'm quite good at repeating stories at the moment. I'm not sure what's going on with me. But I was interviewing somebody at a ministry in a country in the Middle East. I was here, he was there, and I wasn't setting up the call properly. He just wasn't comfortable putting his video on, and he was all kind of answering my questions really short answers. And then my child walked in and went, "Mummy, where are my sandals?" And he immediately put his video on and went, "Ha ha, I've tied mine up in the garden." Shh. And then we had this whole connection and a really easy conversation after that, because it sort of rapidly equalized us. If nothing else, we had in common children interrupting our work life because we were working from home. So it does have this. I think that's been one of my experiences of this sort of coming into people's homes bit.
Definitely. We're sort of. I think we need to get some cool presentation tips going, because we're sort of 25 minutes in. Let's give some people some some of that Rabbi David magic. Show us what you found. Show us what you've been using.
Oh my Lord! You want magic? Dear Lord! All right. Well, let me do this. I'm gonna pull up. This isn't terribly exciting, but let's see here. Okay, so a couple things that I have used that have become really really important to me. One is I almost never share my. Well, no, I don't almost never. I never use share screen in Zoom, and that's because it places me right in the top little corner, and no one can see
Yeah.
me. And there is nothing in any slide deck that I could ever create that's more important than this
You're
Punim
looking.
right here. This cruise picture. And that's not because it's particularly nice to look at, because it's not. But the connection, if there is a connection to be made, it's not going to happen because of some slide deck that I created. So 9 times out of 10, when I do use slide decks, I'll do it like this. So this is a keynote that I'm just running on top of my video here in using Ecamm. This is something I did a video yesterday on the ATEM Extreme and the ATEM Mini. I was in office hours the other day. I was teaching everyone a little bit of Hebrew. What this does is it allows me to, again, keep the connection, the eye connection
Yeah.
right there, while still bringing in this information over on top of it. And then another thing that I've sort of just started doing, that's not true, I haven't just started doing it, is using an iPad to telestrate over myself. So I can, if I'm making a point or if I want to diagram something, then I can use my iPad and I can just telestrate that way. A little bit like, shameless plug, you can do on the Shoot app
Yes, you can.
by Michael. Wait a second. Oh my God. I actually had it all. Look, I have my phone here. I had it all hooked up. I was going to show everyone how to do it, but my battery drained. I'm using it on a very, very old phone.
It's okay. We'll link to a video about my app on the thing.
I'm so upset. I was so excited to demo that for everyone.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
What I'm doing, the way I'm using the Shoot app actually is I'm using it on an iPhone, which I'm aircasting to an Apple TV that I have plugged into my ATEM Mini. So I can just bring that in as a camera source for myself. But so those are two of the things that.
You use an Apple TV just plugged into the ATEM. I'd never even thought of that. I just have it plugged into a TV. But yeah, that's a brilliant idea.
What's cool about that is that I can cast an iPhone to it. I can cast an iPad to it. I could cast Apple TV to it. And then I could just bring that up as an option in my switcher. I mean, right now there's nothing there.
For people listening,
I need a diagram.
Well, here's the thing: for people listening, it looks very slick. You're just drawing sort of straight on. You can just illustrate a point by drawing just right in front of you, and you can just bring in graphics into the frame. But I know what's going on behind that is a lot more complicated. So you've got a really clear presentation, but can you tell us how complicated is this all to set up? Can you show us a bit what we're dealing with?
It's not all that complicated. To be perfectly honest, it's not all that complicated. It really isn't. So, oops, wait a second. Sorry.
We've gone green.
Hold on. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. There we go. All right.
This is the danger.
All right. So I've got two, for what I just did, I've basically got two things going on. Actually, let me take a step back. So this is kind of my setup here, right? So I'm running, for this, I'm running two computers. I have a third computer over here that I use for if I'm doing live video production. So this is the new Mac Studio, and I've got 3 screens attached to that. So this is my main screen. This is in the teleprompter where I put Zoom, or if I'm live streaming, or right now as I'm talking to you, that's where I put you. And then this is my Zoom second monitor. This guy over here is my MacBook Pro. So I've got the MacBook Pro here and a second monitor here. I also have the MacBook Pro hooked up to a cam link, which is sending a monitor out into this computer. Okay. Right. So that's kind of the overall setup.
Plus 3 Stream Decks.
Plus 3 Stream Decks, right. So then to do the overlay, what I do is on my MacBook Pro, I'm just running Keynote, and I just made the background the color of chroma key. 017764, I think is the color that I use. And then when I do the presentation, it goes to full screen. And then this is what it looks like for me, right? So this is just literally a keynote presentation, and trying to get back to something, but I was on oh, there we go. So you can see how the things come over. Then in Ecamm, what I do is I overlay that on top of, oh, you're going to get, that's not going to work. I was going to do the demo mode, but demo mode won't work here. In Ecamm, I just overlay that with the green screen on top of my camera. And then the images, and as long as I set up the keynote in such a way that I don't have something right over my face, right in the middle, it works pretty well. For the drawing, for the telestration, what I'm doing is I've got an iPad down here, and it's the same exact idea. I open up Keynote with, I put that green background on, and then when you do that, it automatically lets you telestrate. You get on the iPad app, you get the a little palette down here at the bottom, and you can telestrate right over it, and it shows up on your screen, which is fantastic. The downside of this is that you can't see, because I'm not drawing on a screen with an active view of whatever's happening. So I have to kind of guess as to where I'm drawing. So I need to make sure, if I want to draw something, I need to make sure it's not over my face. There is a way to do this where you can actually draw on the screen. Alex Lindsay from Office Hours does that. He uses a Wacom tablet. Apparently there's a Wacom tablet that has video, a video out or something. Right, so he does this convoluted, fantastic thing of running his Wacom tablet into his into one ATEM Mini, and then out of an ATEM Extreme back into the Wacom tablet, and that's way above my pay grade. But so yeah, that's kind of how I'm.
So it's a lot of green screen stuff, a lot of chroma key stuff. Because I know in Keynote you can put your video in it, but maybe if you're using Ecamm, it's just easier to sort of run everything on the green screen and do it that way.
Keynote does have this. Yeah, Keynote does. They just came out. Whoops. Sorry about that. I disappeared. Hold on a second. So Keynote just came out with this really cool live video feature. Let me see if this will work now. Did I ruin that? No, I didn't. Okay. So if I go in Keynote up to Media and add live video, now this is, what is this a shot of? This is from, oh, that's a center cam. That I got that, by the way, I don't know if you know center cam. It was a Kickstarter. It's this thin little guy that you clip on top of your laptop, and it puts the camera right in the middle of the screen. Right. I never use it for that. I have it up there as just a third camera. But what's cool about live video in Keynote is that if I were to, let's say, duplicate this scene, and then in this new scene, move this over here and make it smaller or change that, right? I can do any of the things that you can treat this like any other object. And then if I go back up here and I add an effect of magic move, now when I play this and I go to the next scene, all this other garbage is going to have to come up. You'll see that it didn't work. I blew it. I blew it.
It's fine. It's good. How did I think because you put rounded corners on it, it was too much for it. Maybe.
Really? Is that what it is?
I don't know.
The rounded corners?
But yeah, that's. I mean, this is. This is great. I think people probably get the idea with that. But what I want to find out is like, how do people react when they see you bringing this level of production to your presentations, and like, do they try it themselves? Can you get them to try it themselves?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Generally speaking, people are wowed just with the quality of the image. So they I mean the camera image, the lens image. So all this other stuff is sort of fancy add-ons, and they like it, and it's good, but it's not. I would not replace the quality of the camera image that I have for any of that other stuff. That stuff is great and it's helpful, but without this and the eye contact and that other stuff, all of that isn't quite as meaningful and helpful.
And I do just want to interject and say, when people think your image looks good, it's because your sound is also good. Right? Sure. It's like it has to be the sound as well. But yeah.
Oh, well, audio comes first. I mean, when you think about sort of the hierarchy of importance for this type of work, it's connectivity. So first of all, are you using Ethernet? Then audio, then lighting, ironically, not camera, but lighting, because you can help out a poor camera with really good lighting, then camera, and then background. At least that's the hierarchy.
Yeah, that's a really good it's a really good list.
So do people try and do it? Yeah, some people do, absolutely. Not a lot. A lot of people are stuck in again what they're comfortable with, and that's okay. Like I said at the top, my goal is not to have people doing what I'm doing. If everyone does what I'm doing, then I'm going to be out of a gig. So I want to stand out a little bit. I want to help people find the right solutions for them. I'm also, by the way, I should also say that I'm incredibly lucky because I'm in a very controlled environment. When I do what I do, I'm not in a hybrid environment. I'm not having to deal with human beings in the room with me and having to accommodate for both an online and an on-site audience. Everything, as I said at the top, everything is attached to my desk. I walk in, I press a button, and everything turns on. So I'm incredibly lucky. And a lot of other folks are working in corporate environments or community environments or hybrid environments, and they don't have the luxuries that I have of being in a very controlled environment. This works for me.
It's a huge deal, and it's something that, like, I can certainly take for granted. I'm in a room that no one ever comes in all the time, but I am literally riding my mute button on my microphone because there's a building site outside and they're crashing and banging and beeping, and so I'm literally like sitting on that mute button. Anytime I'm not talking, I'm muting it, and that's such an impediment to being able to do a good show, to be able to present something clearly, is if you're going to get people are going to interfere, and you don't have that level of control over your environment. So
well, I've learned a lot. Now I feel I've got to address my to-do list. I cannot get away with just having the microphone anymore, can I? I'm going to have to take it a step further.
The microphone is the most important piece. Yeah. It really is. We all have to get over the I don't want a microphone seen in my shot issue. I had that for years, and I won't ever go back because it makes such a difference.
So I am conscious of the time and your hard stop.
Yes.
So I was just wondering, Michael, you were about to go as if you had a question poised and ready to go.
No, well, I was going to say let's do the outro, but if you have one last little thing,
brilliant. No, I'm cool. Sorry.
Well, I would love. I would love to hear more about like the effect that this has had, but maybe we can talk about that another time a bit more. But do you feel like you're having an effect? You're improving things. Is it going okay?
I feel like. What do I? Boy.
Sorry, that wasn't a quick question at all.
I'll tell you what I think. I think that I don't want to be depressing about this, but I think that we have all given in to mediocrity to a certain extent. I think a lot of people have accepted that this has to be a mediocre experience. And that's a real shame to me. Yeah. It really is, because it doesn't. And it's not a heavy lift. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. It's not, back 2 years ago, every synagogue on the planet, every temple on the planet spent thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to be able to stream. And it was such a mistake, because you don't need to spend all this money. You need to be smart. You need to be thoughtful. You need to, spending a little money will be helpful, but that's not the end game. And so I think we spent a lot of money we didn't need to. We didn't put in the time or the energy to really want to do this better. We thought of this as oh my gosh, we have to do this, not as look at the ways that we can now reach people in this new world. Look at the opportunities that we have to share content. Look at the ways that we can inspire folks. Instead, it was, oh, the pandemic did this to us. And so I think a lot of folks have sort of given into mediocrity. And I can't tell you how many meetings and classes that I've been on that they're just unbearable. They're just unbearable. And I don't understand why people don't spend a little bit of time, just a little, to present something that is more kind to my eyes and ears, more engaging to my mind and my heart, and more inspiring to my soul. If we can't do that, then that's my mission in life. My mission in life is to help people.
I like it.
Level up. Level up.
Splendid meeting. I think people, do better. I think people can get obsessed with the things that are lost, but there are so many things that you gain by using these ways of interacting that just weren't possible any other way. And it's a crazy world, and we've barely scratched the surface, I think, even those of us that are engaging. And I think for sure that's a very good mission.
Great conclusion. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. People can find you at TorahTechGuy.com. Is there anything you want to plug or mention apart from that?
Nope.
Perfect.
Just if I can be helpful, let me know, and I'm happy to hop on a call with you and help out.
Brilliant.
And everyone download the Shoot app and the new wait,
Beat
I have it. I have that too. Wait, what's the other app?
Delay calculator, Beat Sheet, Squares.tv. Just come to Squares.tv.
Beat Sheet. That's Squares.tv. Sorry, Beat Sheet. That's what I was playing with.
Well, thank you so much for saying this. Also, if you do like this podcast, come to canyouseemyscreen.com. We have full video episodes. You can also see you can subscribe in your podcast app and hear the audio. And we've got a little questionnaire. If you've got some, just to learn about you a little bit, just come in, tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe, ask us something that you want to know more about, and we will do our best to get back to you. And we will, we'll be sharing these episodes and the show notes to the mailing list as it grows. So hopefully you want to come and join us for that. And so with that, thank you very much again, and I will play the credits. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.